Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. So Keith Thurman has finally resurfaced. And we're hearing from Keith. A lot of rumors about Keith Thurman. Well, I'm here to let you know. He's supposed to be returning in October, okay? We all know when it comes to October, who's supposed to be fighting in October? Crawford and Spence. Now look, this is what's so, for me, it's frustrating. You know what I'm saying? Because we're getting a lot of fights we want to see. We're getting huge undisputed fights, right? And I don't think we've ever seen a wave of so many undisputed fights, like back to back to back, a succession like that. But with Keith Thurman, okay, the talks about him and Boots Ennis, those talks aren't dead. Keith Thurman came out and he did an interview, and he said that there's no opponent set. There are names that are being thrown at him. But we know that there are a couple of names that are at the top of the list, okay? Is Boots Ennis and Yordenis Ugas. Now, Keith Thurman sounds like he wants the Yordenis Ugas fight. Now, when Keith Thurman does come back in October, I think he's going to be on the undercard of Spence and Crawford because they want to see how Thurman performs and maybe get him in position to maybe take on the winner between Crawford and Spence if they don't do a rematch, which I think they will. Okay? But this is the thing. Since Thurman is saying he's looking to fight Ugas, he wouldn't mind fighting him. Not sure if that will happen. Him fighting Boots, that's the one that we want to see. But that may not happen. Ugas and Boots, I can see that happen before Thurman. The reason I say that is not because I think Thurman's washed up, not because Thurman isn't capable of getting in there. I do think he's not the same Keith Thurman before he got married. I do think that. I do think Boots will beat him. But I feel even more confident that Thurman shouldn't be nowhere near Boots or Yordenis Ugas because Thurman has been out of the ring this year for quite some time because Thurman he contracted COVID, okay? And then he went on to say, his handlers are saying that more than likely, that's not a fight they'll make. Now, it's not because he didn't catch COVID and rebound and get back to a healthy state. It's because when he caught COVID, Thurman ballooned up to 190 pounds, man. 190 pounds. While he said he was sitting on the couch recovering. And he needs to get his weight down to 160 before he even starts training camp for the fight in October. So let's just look at this, right? We're about to hit July, right? July. August, September, October. This man needs to get from 190 pounds to 160. So he basically, July, so August, right? So July, the month of July, to get the weight off and then start training at 160. Man, 30 pounds in 30 days. I'm not saying it can't be done. But Thurman fighting this year in October, especially on that Spence Ugas undercard, I'm not saying it's not doable. I'm not saying dropping the weight isn't manageable. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is him fighting Ugas or Jeron Ennis is not feasible when this man is coming off of COVID and then ballooning up to 190 pounds, having to drop 30 just before he can start training camp. It's a forced situation if you're trying to get him on that, to be the co-main on the October card of Spence and Crawford. Okay? Now, I had COVID in January this year. I got COVID. I had the symptoms for like a month. From right around Thanksgiving, 2021, Thanksgiving, right up to Christmas. And I remember it, man. Everyone's different. But I remember just, because around that time of the year, I get bronchitis, I got bronchitis. So, I get bronchitis, man, and but it was a different feeling. Like, I was coughing, wasn't able to catch myself, and I was sitting there on the couch, man, and it's like I couldn't breathe. And I had to stand up, and I took a deep breath, and I told my wife, I was like, yo, like I'm not getting any damn air. And she was like, she's a nurse, so, she's like, you need to go. I was like, yeah. So I jumped up, headed off to the emergency room. Those, yahoos didn't know what the hell was going on. They had me waiting for like 3 hours. So I left, came back home, took some albuterol, Mucinex, and boom, thought I was okay. Next day, same thing. So I went to the emergency room on the other side of town. They got me in there, gave me the test. Boom, you're positive for COVID. And they just started freaking out, man. Now, they put me in the hospital overnight. And I was like, okay, I'm fine. They gave me some medication. And you just had to let it run its course. Like, there was no tablet. I had already been vaccinated. Like, there's nothing they can do. But they kept me in there just to monitor me to make sure that, I wouldn't deteriorate rapidly, because a lot of people, especially depending on your physical condition, age, when they contract COVID, man, they can go down fast. So they don't play around with that. But when I look at Keith Thurman and the fact that he was, he couldn't have been in quarantine for 2 weeks eating whatever the hell he was, and in 2 weeks get up to 190 pounds from like 154 pounds. Maybe it's possible. If he was in quarantine for a month and that's all he did was sit there, eat, and watch TV with no activity, then yeah, I could see it. But I don't know what his weight was before he caught COVID or when he caught COVID, but to get up to 190 pounds, that's a lot of damn weight on Keith Thurman's frame. That's a lot of weight. So I gave you that story to say this, right? Not everybody who catches COVID is gonna be in the hospital hooked up to a ventilator. Okay, those are some really sad extreme cases. But majority of people get a little sick, get a few symptoms. Some never have the symptoms. We just hear about those extreme sad cases, most of the time. But when you look at Keith Thurman's situation, not sure exactly the extent of his symptoms, but I do know this. If he was having trouble breathing, if he had issues with gaining the weight, retaining water weight, or anything, he doesn't need to come back now getting into a fight with anyone. Man, look at what happened with Povetkin when he got into with Dillian White. Povetkin should have clipped White again. He got in there, he just didn't look the same. But I think Povetkin rushed it. Keith Thurman, like he has a little bit of time, but he's saying that the reason why he didn't get back in the ring this year as quick as he wanted to, after clipping Barrios, he's saying is because he caught COVID. And what he wants to do is face like a Yordenis Ugas as a measuring stick to kind of see as far as how he performs against Yordenis and the way Earl Spence performs. So Earl Spence wants to use him, Keith Thurman wants to use him as a measuring stick. As far as Boots Ennis, he's just basically saying he's not ducking anyone. But he really didn't have much to say about Boots. But he's definitely saying he's not ducking anyone, and he will fight him. But things have to make sense. So he's ducking him, all right? So we're not going to get that fight on the undercard. And it's really unfortunate, but Keith Thurman has to think about it. And every fight he goes into, man, it could be his last. And he's got to figure it out. From getting married, having kids, injuries, inactivity in boxing, COVID-19, gaining weight. There are a lot of people who still feel Keith Thurman can come out here and give Boots the business, give Spence the business, give Crawford the business, give Ugas the business. I think Keith Thurman has a potential to make the fight interesting. I don't think Keith Thurman will win. I just don't think so. It's just too many indicators here for us not to pay attention. There are key indicators here. We got to pay attention to him. All right? This is going to determine Keith Thurman, the health of his career. And they're all pointing the direction the way we need to ground that damn jet and sit his butt down somewhere. And then he needs to go to a depot facility and have a significant overhaul done on his whole career. And then maybe he can come back and do something. But right now, it doesn't look like he's going to come out here and have any impressive 12-round decisions, any impressive knockouts. It just doesn't look like that's going to happen. We know he got in there with Barrios. He looked pretty good. He got hurt. But for the most part, man, he had a roller coaster of a year. And he's still trying to be more active. But PBC, man, you know, they're not even reaching out to him for fights anymore. You know, that's the thing that really is unfortunate. They have so many, and this is the thing, right? Look at it. Since Keith Thurman disappeared from the scene, right? This man had all the momentum going for him in the welterweight division. He had all the momentum. Keith Thurman was on his way to being undisputed. He was on his way. But then he disappeared, right? When he disappeared, Earl Spence bubbled up. Crawford bubbled up. Stan Eunice bubbled up. Boots bubbled up. All these different guys at 147 are bubbling up now. Virgil Ortiz, okay? So, Conor Ben. So when you look at Keith Thurman, right? When PBC wants to make a fight, Keith Thurman still has a name. But they have all these other guys out here who they're making sure they have dates for him. Because it's that new wave. It's that turnover coming on now, you see? There's a turnover taking place. And Keith Thurman, man, they'll probably get him something, but they'll push it back. But he'll get something. It may not be what he wants, but he is no longer a priority. He's still a name, but he's not a priority. He's a gatekeeper. So yeah, Keith, if you want to fight, PBC will get him to fight against Boots. Because Boots is part of that turnover. And Keith Thurman is pushing out. But he kind of caused that himself, you know, in my opinion. I think he caused that himself, but we'll see. But as of right now, he's supposed to be fighting in October. Let's cross our fingers, cross our eyes, cross our legs, cross our T's, you know, call it Red Cross, cross the street, you know. Let's hot cross buns. Let's just cross as much as any and everything we possibly can. Because I would like to see him back this year against a big name, but I'm just not sure he's going to get there, man. You know, he doesn't have a legitimate name. He should have had a few names by now. Anyone's name being mentioned is just a rumor. And he still has to discuss things over with his team. And he should have a list of names pretty soon. And like I said, he's interested in fighting some of the big names. He still is. But he says at this moment, his focus isn't on any of those names. His focus is on working on his diet and getting his body moving. Problems, key indicators, fleet health issues, ground the jet. You know what I'm saying? This man getting his body moving, coming down from 190 pounds, not what you want to hear, man. And he got a lot to do because July will be here, man. And he says he thinks July will be a great month for weight management. By the end of July, he can be somewhere from 165 to 168 and be ready for training camp, and that'll be ideal. And in training camp is where he'll shut off that other 20 pounds and be ready for that moment in time weigh-in. But he just says it's been a long time since he's been under, 172. It's a 22-pound weight drop for him. He said his average for most fights when he starts, man, he said is less than that. And he said that when he got in there for Pacquiao, he was actually in 185. He had to drop a lot of weight for that Pacquiao fight. So it didn't help him that he had to focus so much on losing weight opposed to strategy for a victory. Now, that I can understand that. But for him going into this fight in October, he just put himself back in the same damn situation where it's more focused on losing weight again and not so much on strategy for victory. You see, so I don't know, man. But he does say he's learned from his past and he has set more goals and plenty of time to accomplish those goals. And that's why he's moving now, because he doesn't want to end up in a situation like what he ended up in where he lost to Pacquiao. he says in that fight he just came in and was out of shape, and training camp was more about losing the weight opposed to strategy. Now, some people say that's an excuse, but it's only so much strategy you can work on when you're out of shape. You got to get the weight off. And boxing is a hard sport, wrestling, anything, man. You got to stay in shape. So that's the latest and greatest on Keith one time. He's open to fighting the names we want to see, but it seems like his priority right now isn't Ennis, man. It's more Yordenis Ugas. But because Yordenis Ugas is getting healed up, Keith Thurman is recovering from COVID, losing weight. They're both going to training camp, so I think that'll be a pretty good matchup for him, especially if he can come now and, because Keith Thurman hits hard. If he can land on Ugas and re-injure that same eye, kind of like with Cotto and Margarito after Pacquiao had damaged that eye, it'll be a lot easier to do that opposed to going in there with Jeron Ennis, who is, that's a whole nother level of talent right there, at least from what we've seen so far. But you just never know. The old dog, Keith, one time, don't duck me, son. He may still have one in the chamber and ready to unload on the young buck. But I guess we'll find out. That being said, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Shout out to the veterans. I really appreciate you guys who take time to watch these videos, who are still subscribed or new subscribers. Like, that really means a lot to me. I mean, it really does. I enjoy doing this, and just to see people that we're getting closer to 800 now subscribers, man, that's really cool, man. So appreciate the feedback as always. Appreciate the comments. We won't always agree, but that's what. But we can always be respectful, and we can have that dialogue. But that being said, y'all keep safe, and I will holler at you later. As always, I'm in the breeze.